Hi universe, welcome to 100 Days Live with Sonya. Again with me Sonya from anitasonya.com if you haven't known me yet. And today's very special. I feel honored to have Maxwell Ivey here. You know, when the first time I invited him into 100 Days Live with Sonya, he was very positive and say yes and directly. It is really a good experience for me to know him from Joe Pardo because Joe Pardo introduced me to him and give the reference as the speaker for 100 Days Live with Sonya. And you know what? He has a lot of stories that is not enough to share only in 30 minutes actually. But you can reach him on his messenger also. He has already three books in Amazon that I found, right? Leading you out of the darkness into the light, and then the blind bloggers, New York City adventures, and also it's not the cookie, it's the bag, an easy way to lose weight. And then maybe we need so many things that we can learn from him, and he is known as the blind blogger. And he's very special in my opinion because no matter what he doesn't give up, and that's why he has a lot of stories to share with you. Maxwell, how should I call you? Max or Maxwell? Thank you very much for being here. It is an honor to have you here today.
Well, it's an honor to be here myself, and you can definitely call me Max. All my friends do. And I am impressed and inspired by you because I know how difficult it is for anyone to have a podcast where you live. You know, you're like halfway around the world from me, and the technology, the internet quality, plus plus you're a woman, which makes it so much harder for you where you live. So I appreciate what you have gone through.
How do you know that? Yes, I have a lot of adversity as a woman also. Since I was a child with different mindset and everything. But today we are going to talk about you, not about me. This is my show. Different if you invite me to your show next time.
Yes, yeah. But it is a good point for our audience though, because most of them have probably had some of their own adversity, but they don't really consider it, or they are stuck in it, so.
That's true. And Max, what make you take the decision? I always ask the experts or the speakers in 100 Days Live with Sonya, what makes you take the decision to inspire others to share your stories all of there?
I love this question because people assume I decided.
Thank you.
Yeah,
yes.
And yeah,
dedication,
yeah. Well, eventually I did decide, but as far as being an inspiration, you see, I had been working online. I started my first business online myself in 2007, and
wow.
I had been working to promote the Midway Marketplace, which is a place where people can buy used carnival rides. And people started telling me how inspiring they thought my story was, and they wanted me to share more of it, but I refused to accept that I was an inspiration. I would just say, hey, I'm just a guy who shows up every day and works hard, and I'm nobody special. But finally, my amazing friend Adrian Smith, who, everybody should have a friend like Adrian, she said, Max, here's the thing. You have a built-in excuse. If you decided you wanted to do nothing but watch TV and eat junk food, nobody would say anything about it because you're blind. The fact that you don't use the excuse, that you decided to show up and do what you can, is inspiring because so many people don't have those excuses and they still don't do anything with their lives. So she finally convinced me of it after 2 years of arguing with her. I said, I'm ready, and I started the blindblogger.net, which is where people can find me now. And you're right, that's led to 3 books and public speaking, and I especially love that Joe Pardo was the person who introduced us because he was the first person to see the value of putting a microphone in my hand and letting me talk to his audience.
Wow. Yeah, he's a great mentor actually. And then, I should be honest that 100 Days Live with Sonya is my commitment to go live streaming every day, right? And it was because I interviewed him and he talked about consistency in live streaming to deliver our content, to show ourselves in the busy social media, to leverage our brand, and it works out, Max. So, and
Yeah,
then how did you start it? You already started long time ago, 2007, and then I've just started about 2 years ago.
Well, I started my first website in 2007, which was before WordPress, before Wi-Fi, before Facebook, and I had to learn how to hand code HTML in order to get my website online. I didn't start my first blog until probably 2009, but when I decided to start the Blind Blogger, I started with a blog on that website from the beginning. So I've been blogging for 6 years. I've been podcasting as a host for 4 years. I have been appearing as a guest on other people's podcasts for almost 9 years now. So, but it's the thing about having a podcast or being creative in any way. It's not how long you've been doing it. It's can you do it again today and tomorrow and the next day, and that's why your 100 Days Challenge is so impressive and in my thinking just flat out crazy. To me.
Oh, thank you so much. Actually,
I'm used to people telling me, Max, what you just did was crazy, but in my opinion, I would never try to do a live stream a week, much less a live stream a day for 100 days, which is a little over 3 months. I just don't think So I think you should appreciate that, and your audience should appreciate that as much as people are inspired by my story, there are things that scare the heck out of me, and what you're doing is one of them.
Wow, I should praise you more, but in this year you praise me more. You inspire me a lot, and then when you do this, does it influence your work also? Because I saw your website, and then you sell a lot of, like on the amusement part, all of the toys and everything. It looks great, and then you have already operated around the world. It's not only in the United States. How do you manage your time?
Very poorly, but I do the best that I can. I have, as you know, I have lots of different things that I'm interested in, that I'm working on. I have a future book. I have this podcasting network for other blind hosts that I'm working on. But what I do is I get up in the morning, and first I take a few minutes just to appreciate that I'm awake and I'm alive, and just try not to think about anything for a few minutes. And then I go, what does Max have to do today? And I go by whatever is most urgent on that particular day, which is hard to do because we sometimes think that whatever task is making the most impact on us is the most important. So I do whatever I can throughout the day. And at the end of the day, I go, Max, you could have gotten more done. You could have done some of these things better, but you did the best you could do today. Now tomorrow you'll do better. That's the way I approach it. I'm very kind to myself, and I don't beat myself up for the things I didn't accomplish or the things I can't do right this minute. I just focus on the things I can. I focus on the accomplishments I did have that day, and then work on it again some more tomorrow. So I think this whole idea that people can complete their to-do list, let's call it, every day is one of the most frustrating things. I think if more people would just get up in the morning and go, look, there's no way I could accomplish everything I have to do today. For most people, they have family, they have work, their bosses are expecting them to do work beyond the usual work hours. They have to travel, or they have to arrange Zoom. They have pets, they have meals, they have classes, physical fitness. So many things. They're really, if we would just be more kind to ourselves and go, we're going to do our best and accomplish the most important things. And then, at the end of the day, we'll have a cup of coffee or a glass of wine or a bottle of water, and we'll think, hey, we can do better tomorrow.
And don't forget to sing. I hear you singing for a while this morning. But then I forgot to put on my headset so I couldn't hear. But then after that you stopped it already when I put on my headset.
Yeah, well, I knew we had to get set up to do the interview, so I figured us getting set so we could go online was more important right that minute. But singing is one of the things I do as a lesson to people around me, because I don't know if you know that. I don't know if you're aware of this, but when I was in junior high school, between my vision changing and my voice changing, people made fun of my singing and told me not to sing. So for a long time I didn't sing, and then when I did start, I started only because I had to have some audio for a podcast, a video I was recording. And I started singing. I sang a little bit on that one video, and people liked it, and they encouraged me, so I sang more. Eventually, I started recording myself singing covers of other people's songs. But even now, it still scares me. But it's one of those things that it scares me, but I do it anyway for two reasons. One, because even though it scares me, I love doing it. And two, it's one of the things I can do every day that will show the other people in the world, hey, he's scared, but he does it anyway. So those things that scare me, if he can find a way to do it, in spite of his real long-time fear of singing in public, then what's my excuse? And that's one of the most important reasons why I sing, is so that I can live my message every day and be an example to people, because no matter how accomplished you are, there's something that scares you. There's something you've been putting off because you're afraid of failure, you're afraid of embarrassment, or it's something that you've failed at so many times before you're not willing to try it again. So there's lots of things that scare us, and to me, singing is one of those things. And then recently, a friend challenged me to write a song, and I said, I've never written a song, I wouldn't know where to start. And she said, well, why don't you start the way you start everything else? Why don't you try to write one verse? Or try to write just a few words and see how it goes. And the next thing I know, I've got a song, and everybody loves the song, and the song's actually in line with your podcast title, our interview title today. So if you like, when we're through, I'll sing a few bars for you.
If you don't ask, how can they say yes? And then, yes, you see, you have a lot of talents, and then I need to learn from you how to be brave like that, to have that kind of mentality after having a lot of failures, right? So, and yeah, you see, even I cannot sing. When I sing, the apps fall from the walls. I'm confused, so I better not to do that way.
Yeah. But when it comes to asking for things, I have a lot of experience. I was the person who did the bookings for our traveling carnival for years, and we never had more than 8 rides. Most of our competitors had 2 or 3 times as many rides as we did. So I got told no a lot. And you get good at being told no to the point where it doesn't bother you, and then you can ask for anything. But here's the cool thing about asking is, once you start making it a habit and it gets easy to you, you can reach out to people for things that you're not completely ready for, and they will sometimes say yes. When I spoke at DreamCon, Joe Pardo's event in 2016, I had no idea how I was going to get from here to Philadelphia and back, but I thought, hey, I know this guy, I love his podcast, we're friends. If I'm going to do a public speaking, I want to do it there. And next thing I know, I'm on the train headed to Philadelphia. So in 2016, I won what they call the Amtrak Riders in Residence. And when I was filling out the submission form for that competition, I read the bios of the previous winners, and their bios were like multiple award-winning author, play performed off-Broadway, all their accomplishments. I'm like, Max, you don't belong here. But then I filled it out. But then I filled it out anyway. I filled it out anyway, and they picked me, and they gave me a free trip anywhere in America, and I got to go to New York on Amtrak. So, if you just start asking in small ways, eventually you get to the point where you don't even think about it. And like I say, sometimes you ask and they give you stuff that you weren't really ready for. And of course, if you're not good at asking, then the next best thing to learning how to ask is just to hire somebody to ask for you, which is one of the things I do for people. I connect people with podcast hosts. I instruct them on how to be great podcast guests. And I've even done some cold calling and direct outreach to locate sponsors for businesses or to do client outreach. So if you don't think you'll ever be good at asking, then get somebody to ask for you. But the most important thing to remember is if you don't ask, or if somebody doesn't ask for you, they can't say yes.
That's why I asked you. That's why I asked you, Pardo, to give me the reference of the great speaker, the best of the best, because I want the best quality speakers, the expert in their field. And you will be like Andrea Bocelli. But how did you lose your sight at 12-year-old?
Right. Well, I have retinitis pigmentosa, and that's a hereditary degenerative disease. Most people know it as RP. And I started losing my vision gradually when I was 4 or 5 years old, and then continued. And then as I entered junior high school, I had a huge drop-off in vision and became legally blind, where I had to use a white cane and learn to read Braille. It's pretty common for men to have a big drop-off in vision when they go through puberty, so that was expected.
Yeah, when you were a teenager, yes.
Yeah, when I was a teenager, and so I had some vision until I graduated from college, and then by that time it was down to what they call light perception, which to me is totally blind because I have no functional vision. I can't use it for anything,
What did you feel at that time, and how did you overcome it?
Well, I was very lucky. I grew up in a family of carnival owners, which means I grew up in a family of people who did things and who didn't suffer people being sorry for themselves, because they always had to operate a business. They never had the resources that they would want to have. And the most important thing when you're in a carnival family is no matter what happens during the week, you have to be open on Thursday or Friday so they can buy a funnel cake and ride the Ferris wheel. So, you learn from an early age that you focus on what you can do and taking action as opposed to crying about what you don't have. So that was a big part of it. My dad was a very positive influence. He was also a great storyteller, which is where I get it from. I lived in a community that funded their schools very highly compared to some of our neighbors. So I had the advantages of an orientation and mobility instructor, of special education teachers, of a Braille instructor at my school, and so we were able to find adaptations for me in order to do my classwork, throughout high school and then into college. And then the other thing that was very important to me is I found a troop of Boy Scouts that were all visually impaired here in the Houston area. And so, I was able to go out in the woods and go camping and fishing and things like that with the other blind kids. And actually, at the end of my high school year, I also completed the requirements to be one of the few legally blind Eagle Scouts.
Did you travel a lot at that time?
I've traveled a lot with my family over the years. My dad was never really satisfied with what was available in Texas in June, July, and August, because it gets really hot and humid here, and people want to stay inside where the air conditioner makes it cool. So we tried working in Kansas and Nebraska. We tried working in Tennessee and Kentucky. We tried working in Alabama, North Florida. So we worked all over the southeastern and midwestern parts of the United States, and that was just with my dad's carnival. When my grandfather was alive and we would go to visit them during the summers, they would work up into Minnesota, the Dakotas, Colorado. So I don't remember much of those times because I was, real young. But yeah, I've traveled a lot, and then starting in 2016 when I won that Amtrak award, I've traveled a fair amount by train, plane, and bus, which I find a whole lot more enjoyable than traveling by truck and RV. I've had my fill of going around the country in trucks and house trailers. So
Yeah, you've been experiencing a lot of things, and congratulations for your award, even though I know it late, right? And about your book, The Blind Blogger's New York City Adventures, how can you make your dreams come true? What did you talk about in that book?
well, I talked about how I won the award in the first place, and how I decided to go to New York City, which was not the easiest, the safest, or the closest, or the most. But most people expected me to go somewhere where I knew people. But I thought I wanted to go to New York, so that's what I decided. It shares about how I faced my fear, because I don't know if you remember this or not, but there was a lot of unrest surrounding the 2016 presidential elections, and a lot of that was taking place in New York. But I decided to go anyway. It talks about some of the things I enjoyed doing while I was there, such as skating at Rockefeller Center and going to a Broadway play and eating in some of the more well-known New York restaurants, at least the cheaper ones.
I don't know if that is cheaper. Maybe in your currency, but you are a billionaire here.
Yeah, I keep hearing that I need to go. I need to go spend some time in your country and other countries, because because financially it would be it is so much cheaper there to live when you have U.S. currency.
Yeah, yes, you will be a king in Bali also with a high U.S. dollar today.
Where exactly do you live, Sonya?
I'm 1 hour flight from Bali. That's all I can say now. So that you can visit me here. It makes it sound closer to Bali, you see.
I don't blame you. You gotta have a little mystery out there, just in case just in case you might want to hide from somebody. I got you.
I'm just kidding. Of course, you know where I am. And then
that must be an amazing place to live and work, though, because I've heard so much about Bali, and if it's near Bali, then I'm sure it's like paradise.
Yes, come here and I will take you hiking volcanoes. Not as a king.
All right. Okay. You got it.
Go hiking, and then walk about 3 kilometers to the volcano. But that is really nice, you see.
Okay.
And you can have your sweat, and then it will be great.
All right. I got you. I can't wait for this COVID to be behind us, because I get offers all the time for people who tell me to come stay with them. So.
Sure. Yeah, I want to also, because last year I didn't get any income from tourism, and I have to reactivate my website for tourism, so that when everything return to normal, I don't know what normal is actually. At least I can get more tourists to come here, you see.
Alrighty, what kind of tourist work do you do, Sonya?
Yeah, it's kind of inspiring tourism, so it is a kind of adventure, but then you can do the activities with the locals, because at the time I also experienced to create VIP events for a big company, right, for their workers, for their award for their workers. So I experienced to do the VIP tours that way also. But of course, the honeymoon ones also for the sweet couples.
All right, okay. Well,
So
if you ever ever add any inspirational merchandise to your business, let me know. I'd like to talk to you about getting some of the what's your excuse stuff in your business. So
for sure. And you expect me also to create the offline or in-person event. That's why actually my next event, online live streaming, online World Summit for live streamer in June, the 1st until 5th June. It is like my pathway for the live streamers to come to Bali next year if the condition is possible to make the conference for us to meet each other, you know.
well, that sounds exciting. I think that's a great idea. You do it virtual this year, and you can do it in person next year.
Yes, of course. And then also in that event, I'm very happy that Restream becomes our official sponsor, and that's why I asked you to sponsor us also, so that it will be alongside with the Restream. You see.
Well, I would if I could, Sonya. You definitely have a good cause and a great mission, and I'm sure I'm sure there's going to be many more people who want to sponsor the event.
Thank you so much. I love your positive words since the first time we chat each other, you know. And then, Max, during that adversity when you started to lose your sight at that time, and did you ask support for your mental health? You know, it is not easy for teenager to go for it, you know, to reach your dream. And when did you realize you have this big dream to help other people also through your podcast, through your live streaming, something like that?
Right. Well, back then, nobody really talked about mental health. It was worse, less a thing than it is now, even. But, my dad was a very positive person, and he was also a very funny person, and he
Like
did his.
you.
Yeah, my dad though he had kind of split approach to things. On the one hand, he would encourage me to do anything I wanted to, to go and do the same things the other kids were doing. But on the other hand, if he could do it without me knowing about it, he would do things that would keep me safe. So like my favorite example of this is something I found out a few years after he died. When we were teenagers, my brother Michael, he had a dirt bike and he had a moped. Well, a moped is really just a heavy bicycle that makes noise. It goes very slowly. And so my brother said it was okay for me to ride it, and I rode it and thought I was safe riding it. Well, for some reason that moped kept breaking down, and my brother would fix it and get it running again. After my dad passed away, my mom told us, she said, at night when y'all would go to bed, your dad would go out in the garage and tinker with that moped so it wouldn't run. Because he didn't want to tell you directly that you couldn't ride it, but he didn't want you riding it. So that's kind of the approach he would have. So I think he had his own ideas on mental health and parenting, but that was his approach. He's like, I'm going to encourage you, but then if you're doing something dangerous and I can stop you from doing it without you knowing I'm stopping you from doing it, then I will.
Wow. And then you also wrote about leading you out of the darkness into the light. How is the process to do that?
Right. Well, the book is about my going from accepting that I was no longer a carnival owner and, to beginning the business selling used equipment, and then also becoming an author. And it has 11 practical exercises in there where people can use them to help accomplish their own goals. And I think, one of the most important things in there is a section on deciding what your goal is and deciding what success looks like. Because a lot of people that get frustrated and quit, it's because they have either chased after a goal that wasn't really theirs. their friends said they would be good at it, or they saw it online, or they seen other people being successful at it and they thought they could do it, or they use somebody else's definition of success. Because you can be in the same profession and have similar skills, but one author may want to be a New York Times bestseller, and the other author may just want to publish the books and know that they affected the life of at least one person. And both of those goals are perfectly acceptable. Both of those definitions of success are perfectly acceptable. But most people, they either would gravitate to or be pushed into the idea, well, you need to sell 1 million copies. You need to be 6-7 figures in income, using American dollar standards, of course. And a lot of people, they try to accomplish those goals, and they can't because it's not what they really want down in their heart, and they get frustrated and they quit and they feel like a failure. Yes. So that's the first two questions are all about defining your goal. It has my 4-step method for accomplishing your goal once you figured out what it is. I talk about finding the positive and building a community of people to encourage and support you. I talk about limiting the amount of negative media that comes into your life, such as cutting down on the amount of news you watch or listen to, being careful about who you allow into your friendship, and also what books and magazines you read, what movies and TV shows you watch. So, because all of that stuff has an effect on you, and you really need
Max, I lost you. It's frozen.
to be conscious of it and be selecting things that are upbuilding to you. I'm frozen?
Yes, for a
Okay, am I
while.
back now?
Yes.
For a while? Okay, well, all right, well,
Yeah, you mentioned
I
about
sometimes think
how
your
to,
internet's better than mine.
Choose your friends also. I think the bandwidth here that is has been unbalanced these 2 weeks.
Right. Well, choosing the people that you let into your life, as well as the kind of media that you pay attention to, the books and magazines you read, the movies and TV shows you watch. I mean, a lot of it, for example, here in the U.S., a lot of people will sit down to watch television, and they'll leave it on the same channel for 2 or 3 or 4 hours, and they'll watch show after show, and they may only be interested in one of those programs, but they watch the others to get to the one they really want. Well, why not just say to yourself, this is not entertaining me, this is not satisfying me, what can I do that will bring me joy, and then go do that. Those are some of the things I talk about.
I have time to watch TV.
Well, if I can get them to go from watching 4 hours a night to watching 3 or 2, that will definitely improve their chances,
But watching MasterChef and Shark Tanks are really, really nice, Those are the programs that I love. Yeah, you are frozen again, Max. Yeah, you are frozen again. Okay. Are you there?
Can you hear me now?
Yes, it's better now.
It's better now.
So, we haven't closed it yet.
I have no intention of going. I'm determined that way, So when I first started my first website, I ran the website from one of those portable internet connections that Sprint used to sell. So I'm definitely determined. We'll finish. And I appreciate your
phone line, and then it costs million at the end of the month with the bill. I experienced it yet, and there is yet when you were already on internet to promote yourself. Well, at that time, 2007, 2008, and then it was very easy to get clients from the United States, as the import agent, then I remember that I even had my business associate to export to UK and also United States. I want to do that again. It was like a nice money that we can get from exporting stuff from here. And Max, after this, what is your goal or target for this year?
Well, for this year, I've kind of gotten excited actually. The idea of combining everything I've been doing in the area of podcasting, because I host, I've been a guest, I teach people how to be guests. I've given talks at podcasting conferences on overcoming your fears and launching a show. So what I'm going to be doing is I'm creating a What's Your Excuse podcast network, and I'm going to be helping other blind people and other people with disabilities to launch new shows or to gain more exposure for their existing shows by working together as a community through the What's Your Excuse network.
Wow. So no excuses, yes. I hope that I can beat my excuses every morning also. I'm still learning for that. And Max, do you have any message for our viewers today?
Well, I'd say the most important thing that I can talk about, because this is the one thing that I seem to get asked to talk about the most, is you are not meant to try to do this by yourself. The big important things in your life, they are not meant to be done as a solo act. And you will find so much more joy if you allow people to come in and be part of your journey. But that takes courage, because the world tells people that there's something wrong with them if they ask others for help. And so I've come up with this expression. I like to make sure I share it every time I'm on air, because I think it helps free people to where they can ask for help or they can accept help when somebody offers it. And this is what I tell people. Take the focus off of yourself, and remember, if you refuse to ask, you rob the other person of the joy they would have received from helping you. So think about that for a minute. Think about how good you feel when you do something nice for a friend or a neighbor. I mean, you can do it online or in person, but when you do something nice, you feel good. So if you ask somebody who has a lot of experience to help you with something, you're going to make their day. A lot of people that you meet have spent years accumulating knowledge, honing a skill, developing their talent, and they would just love it if somebody would come along and say, hey, I know you're the expert at this stuff. I am really struggling. I would love some help. Would you please help me? And when I have done that in the past, I have never been told, no, I'm sorry, I can't help you, or I won't help you. It takes humility and sincerity, but the truth is, when you refuse to ask, you rob the other person of their joy. You make their day harder. And trying to do this by yourself, all it's going to do is frustrate you. It's going to drive you crazy, and you're going to quit. And I don't want you to quit. I want to hear your story a month or 3 months or a year from now. I want to know that because of what me and Sonya said today, that you're going to be part of Sonya's live event next year up the road from Bali. I don't want people quitting, and one of the things that seems to frustrate most people is this feeling they have to do it alone. So go out there and ask somebody. If you don't have a friend or a family member that is in your circle already, then reach out to somebody. Start building that community. Start connecting with new people. And you're welcome to start with me. You can head over to theblindblogger.net and send me an email. You can say, hey, I saw you on Sonya's 100 Days of live streaming, and you seem nice, or I saw you on her show and you seemed like you were full of hot air.
But not singing.
Yeah, but
I want to hear you singing again.
You want me to sing again? Okay.
Yes, please.
All right. Well, then we will wrap up the show now with me singing, and of course, y'all can visit me at theblindblogger.net. So here we go. If you don't ask, they can't say yes. They can't bring you coffee or breakfast in bed. They can't read your thoughts, so don't make them guess. If you don't ask, they can't say yes. If you don't ask, they can't say yes. They can't help you clean up your latest mess. They can't give you answers to your last test. If you don't ask, they can't say yes.
Wow, it's a great song and a great voice, Maxwell. But please, I still have a lot of hours to go. I don't want to fall asleep because it looks like a peaceful song. It sounds like a peaceful song.
I don't know. People tell me that they've heard my message about asking for help and asking for opportunities, and it just never sinks in until they hear me sing about it. So
I do need to learn a lot about you. Maybe need to sing also how to make the ends work again, not fall from the wall when I sing. So they have to work.
Nobody sounds as bad as they think they do. That's one thing I'm sure of.
No, of course not. I can sing in the shower for sure. I guarantee that.
There you go. There you go. Yeah. Oh, by the way, just yeah. I really appreciate you having me on the show, Sonya, having me part of your event. This is a great honor. And just so you know, if it weren't for people like you, there wouldn't be the Blind Blogger or the What's Your Excuse. So thank you so much for being part of my journey.
I thank you. I feel honored that you're here, and I hope that you will be the speaker also in Online World Summit for live streamers in June, right? I'm looking forward
to it.
Yeah, I'm looking forward for you to fill the registration also, because I asked everyone to fill the registration. You know, this time I have to be fair to everyone, because not everyone in 100 Days Live with Sonya will be in the Online World Summit, because there will be only maximum 50 speakers more, and I need 25 speakers more, I think.
I thought I filled out the form, but I will go back and make sure that I do, because I definitely want to be part of it.
I will. And thank you very much. It's been an honor again. You are here, and yeah, I'm very happy to have you this morning. Finally, that we can talk face to face like this, even though not in person yet, because I'm looking forward for you to meet in Bali, right? So, Maxwell, really thank you very much for being here today. And I would like to thank our sponsor, Kathy Smith of Catco Enterprises today, also to make this event happen, especially also for Ross Brand from Livestream Universe, who become our main sponsor in 100 Days Live with Sonya. And if you haven't registered to our next event, Online World Summit for live streamers in June, the 1st until 5th June, then you can register to wordsummit.anitasonya.com, wordsummit.anitasonya.com, and I'll see you tomorrow. Bye bye.